Last time we visited with you, it was before the release of The Meg, I believe last summer. How has the release of the film and its success impacted your life, Ken?
Well, it's, one answer would be not at all, but that would not really be a good answer, a fun answer. The real answer is that it was disconcerting to be validated for something that I believed 22 years ago, and that I got a lot of other people to believe 22 years ago, including Doubleday to the tune of $2 million, and Disney to the tune of $1 million, and New Line to the tune of $1 million plus, and so on. And then it didn't happen. And suddenly, all these years later, it happens, and people go, you must feel good to be corroborated. And I said, yes, I do. But the truth is, it taught me the most important lesson of all, which I wrote into an essay called The Waiting Room. If I had been waiting for The Meg to happen, or for any movie that I started 20 years ago to happen, I probably would be miserable, if not suicidal. But what you do in the waiting room is you do something else. That's how you manage your time. When you're waiting for something, that can be annoying and a burden, and what you have to do is other things. So what I did was 50 other things. And as a result, 30 movies have happened, and hundreds of books, and a new publishing company, and lots of other things. And yes, it's satisfying to see that the world endorses what Steve Alten and I believed in 22 years ago, that this was, a hugely popular subject for a story. And all the way along, brave people, especially Bill Avery, who brought it home, and Lorenzo de Bonaventura, et cetera, other producers, they made it happen too. But I guess what it shows, among other things, is that don't waste time hoping for something to happen. Do your work and then put it out in the world and let the world take care of it. That's one thing. And then part of it is to trust the work that happened. When you create this baby, the Meg in this case, if it's a good baby, it will survive and it will show its muscles when the time comes. Maybe it's been in hiding for all these years, but suddenly it comes out and everybody knows it. That's great. But what that tells the artist, I think, is to focus on what's at hand, what's in your workshop right now, and do it well. And then don't worry about things you can't control. Focus on what you can control. And I guess that's my main feeling about it, is that we did a lot of work on the Meg at the beginning. We created its shape, and it finally came out, and it did great. And am I surprised? No. I'm pleased, but I'm not surprised, because I always believed it. But I am so glad I didn't hang my own personal psychology on it, because if I had done that, I'd been, locked up by now. Like myself, Steve went on to write 8 more books on different subjects too, and built another career around his talent, and he'll continue doing that. He's learned that lesson too, that was it disappointing that it didn't come out back then? Well, it felt like it at the time, but in retrospect, things are meant to be. And I always say to writers that I manage that every project has its own clock, and the only problem is you can't see the clock. So what you do is you put in the works the best you can, and then you screw the screws on the cover and send it out into the world and wish it well, and turn to your next project, which hopefully you've done before you finish this project. And that's what the creator does. They keep working on new projects. So this world didn't turn out perfectly. God creates another world. Maybe it's better.
How often do you create?
Do I create?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
well, I'm always involved in at least 2 creative projects. I've just finished 3 screenplays in the last 12 months, and 1 book that was already published, and a book that's about to be published. And I'm never run out of creative things to do. That's what keeps me going, is that creative juice. And it's why I'm drawn to helping other people with that creative juice, because I understand it, having spent my lifetime living it and kind of analyzing it.
If you could be remembered for one quote, what would it be? Your own quote.
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I see my quotes on the internet now, and I go, well, that's good that I said that. That's good. I mean, I think that I would probably hope to be remembered for go for it and never give up. But neither of those are original. My mother is the one who told me go for it all the time and never give up, was Churchill. But I think those are the things that make a creative writer sane, is sticking to those two principles. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't do it or you shouldn't do it, or even you shouldn't do it this way. Because if you have a clear vision of where you're going, you should stick to that vision until you can't anymore.
Or just do it, but Nike has
just do it.
Similar.
It's funny how these slogans, are universal. They're not just about the creative world. They're, athletes are extremely creative. People who break records are breaking them because of their creativity, and because they too have understood their mind, and they too have this kind of managing editor inside the mind that knows how to hold off the world on one side and their vision of it on another side. People say this particular high jump record can't be broken, but they believe it can. And maybe they believe it because they had a dream that they did it, or maybe they believe it because they calculated, that if this and if that, then I could do it. And maybe they just believe out of sheer stubbornness. But there's only one way to test a belief in the creative world, and that is to do it, to just do it. And every time, it's interesting, people say this 3-minute mile couldn't be run, this 2-minute mile, whatever. But when somebody breaks the record like that, within the next 12 months, it is matched or broken by 3 other people. What does that tell you? It tells you that the role of creativity in human life is to keep us moving forward as a species. It's the creative people who have the vision to say, this could be done that hasn't been done before. This could be done better. This could be done different. And we listen to that, and we either believe it or we don't believe it. But at the end of the day, if it works, then suddenly everybody's doing it. And the continent of reason is reshaped by this eccentric little island vision that came out of the blue. And suddenly people believe it. Nobody would have known what to make of, tweets or Instagram or Facebook just a few years ago. 2008, I think, is when a lot of this really began, or earlier, slightly earlier, 2006. And now it's hard to imagine the world without it. And that's how quickly the continent gets changed by a creative change. The people looking at art after Picasso can no longer see things the same way, because he came along and changed our way of seeing. And that's the beauty of being involved in the creative world.